Once again, welcome to today's program, our last program of the session. If you haven't already done so, please go ahead and fill out the poll that is listed there. Right here. And it's about everyone here. So let's look and see. Alrighty, so the majority of you have been here for all 10 courses. That is great. We are so glad that you have been able to join us this summer, be part of this process with us, and be able to grow, be able to get connected to resources, connected to other students as well, other Spartans, and really begin that next step in your journey at San Jose State. So we are very glad that you're able to join us, that you're able to participate in this program, this process. For those that just joined us for a couple of courses, do keep in mind that the Google Classroom has recordings of all of our sessions. So definitely go back to those, revisit them if you want a little bit more information on campus resources or on our counseling services or meeting with your College Success Center. So definitely take that time to go and look at those again. We'll go ahead and this here. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started here on today's program, shall we? So what we're going to talk about today, a quick recap, revisiting what we talked about the past 2 weeks now. We're going to talk about some goal setting, as well as services that are available to you this fall and even the summer, the remainder of the summer through our Spartan Eastside Promise transition program. So, and we'll also have a presentation from our academic preparations office. So for those of you that may have gotten messages about, English and math readiness, about taking a support class, saying a little bit more about what that means, what that is going to be involved for you there, and then talking about what's next, so creating your plan. Okay. So first, let's look back at where we began from the course, from beginning to end, see where we started, where we're at. Here. Oops. One moment.
Hey, what's going on, Spartans? My name is Eric Macias Chavez. I am the transition coordinator for the Spartan Eastside Promise. First of all, congratulations on graduating high school and getting into SJSU. These are wonderful achievements. A little bit about myself. I am from San Jose, California. I went to Del Mar High School. I also went to West Valley College and transferred to SJSU to pursue my degree in sociology with the focus on race and ethnicity. It is my pleasure to serve Eastside students. We are excited to have you, and thank you for joining us during the summer program. I hope to meet all of you.
Hi guys, my name is Estrella Ramos. I recently graduated from Yerba Buena High School. My major is psychology, and a fun fact about myself is that I enjoy running and I enjoy playing soccer.
Hi, my name is Ariana Alvarez. I am now currently a graduate of class of 2020 from Mount Pleasant High School. I am currently an undeclared major, but would like to switch to biology to pursue my career in dentistry. Fun fact about me is that I am a professional Polynesian dancer, and I've danced around the country. And yeah, thank you.
Today, I was put into the two groups of the peer connections and also like the wellness center and everything that building had to offer. And I'm really interested in those two resources because with peer connections, I feel like I would get a lot of additional help with tutoring and just subjects or courses that I'm having a hard time in. And I find that very useful, and I'm sure that I would take advantage of that and that support system very often throughout my college experience, as well as the wellness center, and specifically like the opportunity to speak with counselors and just overall like well-being and handling stress and whatnot. I feel like that would be very useful for me. And yeah.
Of the 4 GPS tools, I definitely see myself using the roadmap and scheduler. The roadmap will really be helpful in organizing all the courses I need to take for my major, and the scheduler will allow me to see all the classes and course descriptions, as well as compare the different schedules to see what will work best for me.
Hello, I'm Luis Vargas, and I'm answering what are my thoughts on creating my own schedule and what classes am I excited to enroll in. And my thoughts are kind of mixed feelings because now you're getting independent and you gotta do like stuff by yourself. You gotta pick up classes that you need and that will help you with your major and to your GE. So it's something that is a little bit scary, but I think I'll go through this just right. And I'm pretty excited about. Also, the classes I'm getting I'm trying to get and enroll because I would like to are American Studies, because I love history, communication studies to learn how to more like communicate. Also, English is one of my favorite subjects. And psychology classes, 2 of them that I think will help me introduce to my major, and I'll be really excited about if I get to enroll in these classes.
The thing I'm most excited for about college is having more control of my schedule. Like compared to high school, like you have to be in school for a certain number of hours, and in college you just have to be in your classes. And it's not necessarily like 7-8 hours of school.
Well, there are several things I can take away from course 5. One thing is that I would like to know more about the programs and events that they have at San Jose State. One big interest that I have is the leadership development program, because I myself was in leadership for 2 years and I enjoyed some of it. And the one tip that I'm going to use to my advantage is socializing. It not only makes college so much more enjoyable, I can also ask for help or give help, which can benefit me and other people surround me.
Hi, my name is Megan. An interest group at ESUHSD I would like to connect more with is sports and Greek life, because I would like to join a sorority in the near future.
Hi, my name is Sydney, and I'm preparing for my first year as a Spartan by attending all of the Zoom calls in the summer program, and also by contacting friends and family who currently go to SJSU or who have gone to give me personal advice.
Hello, my name is Malaya, and one thing I'm excited about for college is to be a part of a new community. And in that new community, I get to meet new people, have new experiences, and make new connections and relationships with others. And just overall, just starting a new chapter in my life is very exciting.
Congratulations on officially completing the Spartan Eastside Promise Summer Program. In the last 2 weeks, you have learned so much about campus resources and how to navigate life as a Spartan. But just because our summer program is over doesn't mean you have to miss out. Continue to stay connected with the SCSP team throughout the summer and school year to receive support and achieve your goals. Spartan up!
Hey, what's going on, Spartans? My name is Eric Macias Chavez. I am the transition coordinator for the Spartan Eastside Promise. First of all, congratulations on graduating high school and getting into SJSU.
Alrighty. So, just a recap of our of our Flipgrid. So thank you again to those who shared your story, shared your interests, shared what worked for you, what areas of support you needed and continue to need. It was great to be able to get to know you, especially since, you know, we are remote and there isn't that, that in person. This was a great way to be able to start to get to know you, build community, and an opportunity for you to get to know other students, get to see other students who are coming from your school, your district, and see those similar interests, those hobbies, those concerns, and even some students sharing some tips and resources as well. So if you haven't already checked it out, I highly recommend checking that out. It will be up and available throughout the summer too. So if you do want to engage with us further, if you want to continue to see those videos as well, definitely check that out here. Coming up next, let's talk about what we did this summer, right? We were together for 2 weeks, about 10 days from June 1st to the 12th, all about, you know, getting to know you in SJSU, talking about your major classes, meeting different advisors from our College Student Success Centers, from our different resource centers, talking about your professional development and planning for your academics, having that time to introduce you to our e-advising tools. That way you can begin to create your schedules and see what resources were available for you. Talking about that Spartan life, that adjustment, and how to be able to get ready for that next step for you. So that being said, what's next? What is next on your journey? What's next with us? What are we gonna do next? We're gonna talk about goals. So some of you might have done this before when I've presented at your schools, but I would like everyone to take a moment, about like a minute or so, and reflect in the chat in 1 to 2 sentences. Define what going to college means to you without using the words degree, education, or money. So again, take about a minute or so to think about this and write this in the chat. All right, take a few more seconds here. Okay, let's take a look and see what we have here. So starting off, we have, you'll provide me with new skills to use in the workforce. It'll help me in the future. Means being able to learn and perform academics at a higher level to help you in life, help me find connections, chance to meet new people and new experiences, help me to live a better future, the life that I want. It's a foundation that'll help my future, help me secure my dream job, help me to achieve my goals, provide a better life for my family. It's the ultimate enriching experience that allows you to become independent as well as diversify your experiences. Great, great. Let's see, it's that new step in life, definitely. Let's see, another place to further your knowledge, to grow in oneself and help other people within that process. Explore your interests. Yeah, definitely. And make connections and important life learning skills. All of that is very true. And if you notice, everyone's definition of college was just a little bit different, right? But how you define college, how you determine what is your motivation for going to college, that's going to guide your journey and your experiences there. Because college is a lot more than just 4 more or 5 more years of school, or, for some paying a lot of money for this piece of paper. You're really going there to advance yourself, advance your skills, to grow, to get those connections and work towards those goals and those dreams of yours. Focusing on, as you're going through this journey, focusing on that motivation and why you're doing this, especially when things get hard. Like you have the all-nighters, you're wondering, am I going to be able to get this class? Am I going to pass this? What is this going to look like? I'm struggling here. Focusing on that motivation, that end goal that you have, is going to be that difference from I'll do it to getting you to I did it. Making sure that you are able to achieve what you've set out to do, that you are connected to those resources to help you to be able to do that. So together, we're going to brainstorm for a moment and think about what are some ways that you can do that? What are some ways that you are able to get from that motivation, to be able to go from that motivation of what and why, your goal, to making it a reality of how and when and who it will be involved in this. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and share mine. So for me, going to college means, excuse me, connecting with new opportunities that will help me grow personally and professionally and help me to provide a better life for my family. So what that meant for me in terms of making this goal a reality, setting that motivation to be something of not just an idea, but actually something to put into practice, that I would like to do is, attend at least one workshop a semester to engage with a campus resource and, just learn a new skill. So what we're going to do is we're going to brainstorm this together, thinking about how to be able to move that motivation over to a reality. So I'm going to go ahead and pull one random quote from here. And let us go with this one. So if we look here, college to me is an opportunity to meet new people and have new experiences. So this is from Sean. So go ahead in the chat on your mic. Let's talk about this together. Let's talk about what are some ways that we can help make this a reality? What are some ways that we can meet new people and have new experiences? Go ahead and either on the mic or the chat, preferably the mic. Let's hear about you. Okay, so we hear joining clubs, getting involved, going to office hours. Great. That's a great one, Alexa, talking to people in your class. Kimmy, another great one, arranging study groups. Sports, definitely. Working with others. All great things, right? So we have some tangible items here, right? Joining clubs. So or last week, you were able to meet with our student involvement office to talk about their leadership development opportunities, our 450 student organizations, fraternities, and sororities that are all still going to have digital engagement, a virtual platform to be able for you to connect with them and join their services. Talked about going to office hours. So all of your professors are still going to have virtual office hours as well, where you can meet with them over Zoom or chat with them via email and be able to see get that help on either an assignment or something clarified that was taught in the class, and eventually a letter of recommendation. Right, we have some other great ones coming in here. On campus housing, yeah. We have getting to know your professors, finding people of the same interest, social events. The events is definitely a great one as well. Yeah, and then arranging those study groups. So you are, even though a lot of your classes are going to be online, there's still going to be group projects and presentations and opportunities for you to engage with your classmates that will allow you to get to know each other, be able to build those connections with your fellow students. And then that you're also going to be block scheduled in a few classes, that will help as well. So as you're going through those Zooms and seeing, some familiar names, reach out, be like, hey, I see we're in a couple classes together. What's your major? What school did you come from? And just build those connections, start to get to know each other. Okay, let's do one more together before we move on here. Or actually, we are going to, we'll move on, but we'll revisit this a little bit later. So I do want to talk about some other ways that you can be able to do this, some other ways that you are able to take that motivation and move it to a reality and have support to do that. So one of the supports here that we do provide is our Spartan Eastside Promise transition program. So as extension of our Spartan Eastside Promise, we do have a transition component that is, again, designed to really help you as you're moving from high school to college, as you're moving from the summer program into your first semester at San Jose State. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Eric, our transition coordinator, to be able to talk about this a little bit more.
Thank you, Amanda. Good morning, everyone. I've been able to meet some of you. I'm sorry that I don't have my camera on right now, but I think through those Flipgrid videos, some of you were able to see me. I was that first one. Again, my name is Eric Macias Chavez. I am the transition coordinator for the Spartan Eastside Promise. And essentially, my job is to work with you while you are an enrolled Spartan, right? To make sure your transition is going smoothly. So the summer program definitely is a part of that transition, right? Becoming a Spartan, getting used to everything. But as you begin to navigate the ropes, right? It's still a lot of, where is this? A lot of recapping, a lot of revisiting information. But continually sitting down with folks to think about your goals, process some ideas and really follow through on what you want your academic career to be. So we're here for all of that. And so the transition program consists of a couple things. It essentially consists of engagements, workshops, trying to collaborate with other departments, but first and foremost, engaging with you and serving you. And so for the summer, what we have prepared is sort of two different events, right? We're hoping to engage you via Instagram Live. We're planning to go live with other campus departments. You will see our peer mentors go live with other peer leaders so that you can, listen to their experiences, learn about their programming, learn about the opportunities in their departments. But this is so that you can, hear from them, hear from the students. We will also be having Canopy watch party discussions. Luckily enough, SJSU has a streaming service. It is for documentaries and really cool films. It's called Canopy. I'm sure you can access it by going to sjsu.canopy or looking for it at one.sjsu, and you sign in with your SJSU credentials. So, and all of you should have access to that. It's a really cool resource to, watch educational films, documentaries. And so for the summer, we're gonna get together and have some discussions around these films. Maybe talk about the topics that we're really interested or topics that, play a large role in our lives. But that gives us an opportunity to continue to learn about ourselves, to continue to connect, and to continue to learn about the world how it is around us. But again, this gives us an opportunity to engage. So over the summer, look out for those Instagram live chats as well as those canopy watch parties. You will be receiving emails, and we will be uploading some invitations to Instagram as well as some instructions as to how to access those resources. But definitely stay tuned. And that's for the summer, right? We want to sort of hang out, have a chill summer. But as we get closer to fall, 2020, we're hoping to reinstate those workshops, right? Come back in, get refocused, start warming up for our for our semester by revisiting some of these resources, revisiting some of the processes as to connecting with professors or connecting with resources. But we definitely also want to address your growth pledge, right? Just as we're discussing goals right now, we want to continue that discussion to further develop your goals, to add to those goals, and really keep pushing forward until you achieve what it is you want here at SJSU, right? And it isn't just one thing, which is that degree, it's many, right? Developing a connection, a support system, finding your interests, choosing between majors, connecting with professors, research opportunities. There's a lot going on campus. There's more than meets the eye here, you know, even being from San Jose and knowing about SJSU, having stepped in there, I learned a lot more than I thought I ever would, right? I came with an impression that, okay, I'm not sure if there's a lot here for me, but as soon as I stepped in, even as a transfer student with 2 years, there was a lot for me to have to go through. And we really want to make sure that you folks take advantage of all of those opportunities. And so revisiting your growth pledge, you know, making sure you're calendaring your system, your semester rather, or that you understand how to work with your syllabi. I think that's something that we really want to sit down with you folks and make sure you have an understanding that you want. On top of all of that, we're hoping to continue peer mentor check-ins. So, you know, checking in with us, checking in with the Spartan Eastside Promise team is definitely a possibility, even starting next week for you folks, right? But you have that choice throughout the summer, throughout fall, and throughout your academic career. And so we want to give you the opportunity to sit down with us one-on-one, you know, really dive deep into some of your interests. You know, this summer program covered a lot of general information, and we did hear from you throughout several questions, but we want to make sure we give you the appropriate amount of time to, you know, address all of your concerns, your specific schedules. And so we're really here to support you. But again, recapping, during the summer, Peer Mentor Instagram live chats, the Canopy Watch and diving into, once again, the My GPS tools, options to changing your major, right? Whether you have a major now or you're undeclared, maybe you take a class later that really shows you a new interest or you're looking to change. And so we'll definitely be available to sit down and, you know, go over this information once again, or dig into the new information to have us lead to where you want to go. But that's kind of what we have set for the summer and fall. And always looking for new ideas, especially as this is a digital summer and a digital learning experience. So we're always trying to expand. Folks will likely hear from us using a new resource, but that's so we can connect in new ways, right? Unfortunately, we have to rely on this. And I mean, it's been pretty cool, right? We've been able to learn new things, new tricks, and just new ways of engagement. And I think I want to focus on that. That's what I see valuable here for us to continue to grow as a Spartan community. But essentially, that's what we got planned for you folks, right? We want to continue engaging with you. We really want to continue supporting Eastside Spartans because this is a wonderful achievement, and you folks have a lot more to go, right? Just as you saw that you can achieve this goal, just as that you can achieve many more, and we want to be a support system of any sort. But Amanda, yeah, thank you. I think if you'd like to make a comment about what we got coming up, but I think that's some of what we got coming up. Again, you'll be seeing some of our emails and you'll see some of those posts on Instagram. So definitely stay tuned. Make sure to stay connected, right? This is the digital summer. It's difficult to engage with the computer and folks through it, but this is our responsibility as Spartans, right? To make sure we know where things are, make sure to know who's doing where and where we can find them, and then just how to be Spartan strong, right? So that's essentially what we're here for. Thank you, man.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Eric, for sharing. So just to echo what he said, we're here to support you through this process, to make it personal to your journey, your schedule, your experiences, and just help you grow throughout this next stage of your academic career. So part of that is, recognizing, yes, it's our responsibility to help you with this process and connect you to resources. So one of the resources that we want to share with you right now is from our academic preparations office, talking all about English and math readiness. So we do have our presenters here, Tom and Jessica. I'll let them introduce themselves in a moment and share their screens. And if any of you, actually I'll put the poll up, that will be a little bit easier to gauge where everyone is at. But if you've heard of your English or math enrollment category, if you know where to find it, and then if you've taken any of the following, so go ahead and fill that out now as they're getting started here. Alrighty, so as they're getting started here, just to be able to look and see where our poll is at so far, it looks like
this is great information. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, it looks like a majority of you have heard of it, but you don't know where to find it. A good portion of you haven't heard of it. Some of you know what your categories are. Oops. Thank you, Tria and Mohammed. My apologies for that in the poll. Forgot to put a none of the above option there. But some of you have taken AP exams. Some have taken community college courses. So this is all going to be very valuable information for that upcoming presentation. So I'll go ahead now and pass it along.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for allowing us time, Amanda, and thank you everybody for being here very early on a Friday morning. We appreciate it. Let me share my screen for just a moment, and then I'll kind of properly introduce myself. All right. So my name is Jessica Schillings, and I'm from our academic preparation department. And Tom, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Sure. I'll say hello. My name is Tom Reese. I'm the manager of academic preparation programs. And I will be joining in the presentation a little bit later.
Perfect. Yeah, so I am here, as Amanda said, I'm here to talk to you primarily about English and math placement, which I know is the most exciting topic at 9:30 on a Friday morning. But it's really, really important. And the reason that it's really important is because in a lot of ways, it's tied directly to being able to graduate on time. And I want you to have as much information as possible so that you can pursue the majors that you want to pursue, so that you can graduate on time, make progress towards your degree. But even more important than that, ultimately pursue the opportunities that you came to college to pursue. And you'll have a lot of different choices, which we'll talk about today, but where you start in regards to English and math really has an impact on that and some of the choices that you can make. I also just want to echo some of the sentiments that I heard and some of the suggestions that I heard during the last session of just staying involved, using your resources. I think that's so important, especially in this environment. And of course, I will be managing a couple different things at once. So if I pause, know that that's probably what's happening. But feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question, or in the chat. There may also be times where I just ask for maybe a quick yes or no, just to make sure that I'm explaining things as clearly as possible. I found, for me at least as a presenter, that's helpful. So there may be a couple of times when I ask you all to do that. So just a quick introduction to myself. Just so you know who's talking at you. My job is primarily high school outreach. So some of you actually may have heard from me, maybe not. But I'm the Academic Preparation Initiative Specialist. Before coming to San Jose State, I was actually a high school counselor, so very aware of the application process you all went through, and a deep respect for what brought you here today, because I know what level of students I'm talking to who were admitted, especially to San Jose State. That's not easy to do. So congratulations on that, and I always want to stay focused on that. And I also was an academic advisor for our College of Business, which is one of our competitive impacted programs on campus. So I will have my email up later in the presentation. So if you have questions about that, let me know. But through that experience, but a lot of what I'm going to talk to you about today is actually from that experience, because I saw a lot of in that role, I got to work with a lot of students from their very first day of college all the way up to the point of graduation. And so learned a lot from them, frankly, about sort of some of the challenges they were facing, but also some of the things they did to overcome those obstacles that I think are really important. So anyway, just a couple things about my background. Also, I just like to always put in a plug that I am what's called a first generation student. And I like to bring that up, not to brag on myself, but because I know whenever I talk to a group like this, there are usually going to be folks that are going to be first generation students. And I think, don't get me wrong, it is an accomplishment to go to college, to be successful in college, to graduate from college, no matter who you are, even if your family has gone to college for generations, and especially in this current environment where we're all dealing with sort of an unprecedented situation. But especially for students that, especially for students that can't necessarily pick up the phone and ask their parents questions, very detailed questions about scheduling or the way universities work. Not that their parents aren't supportive, but but they just don't have that knowledge because they've not been through that process. That can add an extra layer of sort of challenges and questions. At least that was my experience. Everybody's different, but so my experience as a first generation college during that first semester was that I had a lot of questions, and I think everybody did. But I found that I had even more questions than my classmates. The good news was that I found that virtually any question I had could be answered by somebody on campus. And so the task, I learned early on that the best thing that I could do during the first semester is to learn what every office did, and to learn what kinds of questions that each office on campus could help me answer. And each person and each staff member and each professor and whoever I came into contact with during my college career could help. So that took a little bit of energy on my part during my first semester, and will take a little bit of energy from you all as you make your way through the first semester, but it's worth doing. Also, I just want to say to everybody, especially first generation students, that you can do this, and yeah, that you can certainly do this even in this environment, and that we're all here to help. And I want to acknowledge I want to acknowledge the challenges that you all are living through, and we're all living through it, but especially given that you are the class of 2020, we understand kind of what a time this has been, and we want to acknowledge that. We're really, really excited to welcome your class in particular to the CSU, because we understand the challenges that you've already kind of walked through, even just in navigating your senior year. So we're even more proud of you than we would be in a normal year, and we're very excited to welcome you on campus. And we know that, and especially since the last couple months have shown us this, no one can ever doubt that you all can embrace any challenges and overcome any challenges in your path. So we know that about this class. So a couple of things I do want to touch on, and you all probably talked about this a lot during the course this morning already, but of course, most CSU coursework will continue to be delivered online in fall 2020 for safety reasons. So we definitely recognize that online classes are not ideal and not the way that you envision beginning your college career. And again, I just want to echo Amanda and her colleagues did a beautiful job of talking about being connected, and that's why we created the slide as well. A couple of other suggestions that we have, along with the Eastside Promise program, we are partnering with them to provide our own mentor program that we're calling Spartan Impact that will complement that program. So some of you may have received emails about the Spartan Impact program, but anyway, and thank you for letting us know if you're interested in that program. But that's another great way to get involved. Also, there are limited seats in a class. If you're worried about online classes specifically, there's a new class that we actually just found about yesterday called COM 80A, Success in Online Courses. It's not going to be available for everybody, but it is. But if you're feeling especially nervous about online classes, this would be kind of a great complement to learning more about how to be a really effective student online, because it's one thing to be a really effective student, but transitioning those skills online does take some doing. So, and remember, whether you're in that class or not, we're all here to help you with that. So let us know along the way if there are challenges that come up, especially specifically with us being online. And we're hoping that all of these different forms of support that we have will help you. Okay, so again, I promised to talk about English and math placement. And again, I know it's not the most exciting topic in the world, but again, it is super important. And the reason that I feel very passionate about it is because, again, it really does, especially as a former advisor and now in this role, I see how it directly impacts the roadmaps and the ease with which students navigate their experience. And so we want you all to graduate on time. We want you all to be able to get into the majors that you want to get into. And again, that's directly tied to where you start with English and math. So like all colleges and universities, the CSU wants to make sure that all of our incoming students are successful, especially in their first year math and writing courses. And one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about math and writing is because those are really, however you feel about those subjects, those really are the foundation of everything else you're going to learn in college. So you've already seen probably throughout the course of your high school career that it's very difficult to do well in a chemistry course, for instance, if you don't have at least a basic kind of level understanding of math. Or in a history course, for instance, it's very difficult to do well on if your teacher's assigned an essay, but you've never been taught those basic essay writing skills. It works the same way in college, just more a higher level of skill in both of those subjects is required. And so as college prep students, you've already built preparation, but we want to make sure that you really are ready for those experiences that are going to give you the foundation for everything else that you're going to do in college. In ordinary years, we will have, I'll probably throughout the presentation reference slightly something called Early Start. Early Start in normal years is a summer program that's run the summer before you would start college. And there are some, there are some students that are every year that are typically required to do Early Start. For obvious reasons, we're not doing Early Start this summer, but you may hear me talk about that, and that's what that is. But the bottom line is that we know, in regards to English and math, we know that everybody is coming with slightly different backgrounds and slightly different levels of preparation. So this has nothing to do with admissions or anything like that, but but there are some students who will come to the CSU every year and to SJSU who are required to take support classes along with their general education math and writing courses. So it's not that they delay taking those important courses because you really need those courses to be able, again, to move on in a timely manner towards graduation. So we don't delay you taking those courses, but we do ask you to take certain support classes. So in a few slides, I'll answer the question about how do we figure out who needs those support classes and what do those look like. But does that idea make sense that that we look at that basically we will look at your high school transcript now as you're an admitted student, as we know that you're joining us, and we will make the decision about whether or not you need support classes to help you with those English and math courses just to be as successful as you can. So quick yes or no. I feel like I've been talking for a few minutes here. Maybe just a quick yes or no. Is that making sense to everybody right now? Perfect. All right. And again, feel free to stop me at any time if you have any questions as we go through this. The information will get a little more detailed, so let me know because I want to make sure I'm explaining it as clearly as possible. In part, so how do we decide which students need those support classes? Well, the short answer is we look at your high school transcript. So we look at your high school transcript for admission, but you're past that now. So after we knew that you were coming, we actually looked at your transcript again. And basically, we looked at it with the question in our minds as far as, does the student, based on what they did in high school, do we feel like they need support to be as successful as they can be in college level English and math courses? We all know that you have that you can be successful in college, but we want to make sure that you really have that chance to succeed again in those foundational courses. So what are some of the things that we look at to answer that question? So we look at your overall high school GPA. We look at your overall high school math GPA. We look at accumulated coursework. So how many years of math and English overall did you take, and what did those courses look like? And then we also look at some senior year coursework. So there are some classes, and I'll talk more about this in a minute, that we call approved senior year courses. That's our technical name for it. We call them that because we feel like those courses in particular are such good preparation for what you're going to be doing in college that we want to give you a little bit of extra credit or a little bit of extra bump in this process for having taken those. So again, I'll talk about specifically what those courses are in a minute. But again, these are some of the things that maybe are on your high school transcript that we looked at. So overall high school GPA, high school math GPA, accumulated coursework, and then some senior year coursework. We also look at standardized tests. So we did look at your SAT and ACT score again. And if those scores are high enough, we can use that as part of our placement process to decide whether or not you need those support classes. Your CASP exam was the standardized, the CASP exam, the SBAC. Schools call it different things, but it's the same test. But anyway, we'll look at those scores as well, because if you scored high on those exams, which I'll talk about here in a second, that will show us academic preparation as well. Or certainly if you were a student that took and were successful on an AP exam in math or English, we will obviously obviously we'll look at that for preparation as well. So quick yes or no, does that make sense to everybody in general? I know I haven't answered specifically what we're looking for in each of these categories, but does this general idea make sense that we'll look at all these factors to decide whether or not you need those support classes? Perfect. Everybody seems to be with me. So the first thing that I want to unpack a little bit is the approved math and English courses. So I said that there were some classes that you could have taken senior year that we felt like were such good preparation that we want to give you a little bit of extra credit in this process for having taken them. So on the math side, what that looks like is if you took a course that was beyond Algebra 2 or Integrated Math 3, same class, schools just call it different things. But if you were somebody that took something beyond Algebra 2 or Integrated Math 3 during your senior year of high school, you can actually combine that with certain GPAs and certain test scores in order to show us that you do not need those support classes heading in. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, now, did that have to be pre-calculus or calculus or anything like that? If it was, that's great, but no, it doesn't have to be. Certainly if you took something called like statistics or math analysis, as long as it had that prerequisite of, or any other course, as long as it had that prerequisite of Algebra 2 or Integrated Math 3, that's what we would have been looking for. If on the English side, if you were somebody that took AP English, IB English, an official honors English course is recognized by the UC system, or the CSU expository reading and writing course, the ERWC that some campuses offer, then we will award, we'll do the same thing. We can combine the fact that you took those courses and were successful in them with GPAs and with test scores in order to show us that you're ready. So, and of course, that's all predicated on getting a C- or better in both semesters. So again, on the English side, you could have taken AP English, IB English, Honors English, or the CSU Expository Reading and Writing course if your school offered it. So is that making sense to everybody? And we'll talk about how that works here in a minute, but just a quick yes or no. Perfect. All right. Seems like everybody's following. Okay, so what do I mean when I talk about combining, and what do I really mean when I talk about all these categories? Well, I want to go to our checklist for a minute, and you'll notice that in regards to placement, there are 3 different checklists that you can work with. You can also find your enrollment category on, for those folks that don't know what their enrollment category is, by the way, you can find that on your student portal. And in fact, after I log off here, I will email Amanda a copy of a PDF that shows you exactly where to find that enrollment category in your student account, and Amanda can send that can share that with you also, that you can identify what your enrollment category is. So I'm going to show you these checklists just so you can see the different things we're thinking about, but you can actually find your enrollment category, the answer to that question of whether you need support, in your student portal. but just keep this all in your mind for now. So you'll notice that there are 3 different checklists that I have up here. I have a math checklist for STEM majors, I have a math checklist for non-STEM majors, and a checklist for writing. So again, with math, there are 2, just because the level of math that we expect of students pursuing science, technology, engineering, math, or business, because those majors all require calculus, is just a little bit higher than if you're pursuing a non-STEM major. Although if you really look at these checklists, you'll find that there's not a ton of difference. But for now, I'm just going to pick on a checklist so you all can see what this looks like. So you'll notice that this checklist is broken up into 4 different sections, and you can think of these as 4 different categories, and that's intentional because there are 4 enrollment categories that I'll talk about here in a second. But you start over on this side, and all 3 checklists look very similar, by the way. They look exactly like this. It's just pertains to different subjects. So start over on this side, and basically if you can check off, this is what we call category 1, that's our official name for it, but all category 1 really means, if you can check off anything in this box, is that not only do you not need support, you've actually already completed the equivalent of college level credit for that subject. So for instance, if you took, calculus AP and you got a 3 or higher, or any of these AP exams, or on the English side, AP English or IB English, then that's what we're looking for. So again, if you can check off, or community college transfer coursework, I know many of our high school students are doing concurrent enrollment, so that's amazing. And that would also obviously award you, if it's the right course, that would obviously award you that credit as well. So again, if you can check off any of these boxes, you'll technically be considered category 1, meaning, again, not only do you not need that support, but you just don't need the class in general because you've already completed that requirement. If you can't, that's absolutely no problem. Then you would move over to this next box, which we technically again call category 2. And this is where I would expect kind of most students to fall. What this means is that you will not need the support classes. If you can check off any of the boxes in these, any of the boxes in this larger box, you will not need the support classes. And again, you don't have to check off all of these boxes. You just have to check off 1. And again, technically this is category 2. And so you'll notice that things like, if you got a 570 or above, that alone shows us that you're ready. If you got a 570 on the math section, that alone shows us that you were ready for college level math. But if, for instance, you scored just a little bit lower, a 520 to 560, and you had successful completion of that approved senior year math course, there we go again, anything, and again, that was anything beyond Algebra 2 or Integrated Math 3, we can actually combine that SAT score that's just a notch lower than would show us preparation, along with that approved math or English course to show us readiness. Same thing with GPA. So as long as you had a weighted overall GPA of a 3.7 or above, that shows us readiness. But if you happen to have a GPA that was maybe just a little bit lower, but still very good at a 3.5, and you had completion of that 12th grade approved year-long math course, that will that will show us that you're ready and do not need those support courses, or that will show us that you're ready without those support courses. So does that explanation of categories 1 and 2 make sense to everybody? Because I always feel like no matter how well I explain it, this is always a mouthful when I go through it. And I don't expect you to remember all of these details, but I think but I want you to understand kind of what goes into the process of figuring out what that enrollment category is when you look at it. So just a quick yes or no from the audience. Is it all making sense at this point? All right. So if you move over, but let's say you're not able to check off any of these boxes. So then you move over to this column, and basically this is category 3 and this is category 4. These 2 categories are where we do require you to take support. So again, we still believe that you're college ready. You've still completed all the A through G requirements. We know that you're ready. But we want to provide you with a little bit of extra support in order to, again, just to make sure that you can be as successful as possible. Again, if you move over here and you do have a weighted math GPA, in this case of a 3.3 or above, then you'll technically be in category 3, which means that you need to take the support classes, but wouldn't need to take the summer program. Again, in most years, the difference between category 3 and 4 is the requirement to attend the summer program, the early start summer program. Both categories 3 and 4 do have to take support throughout the year. Or at least throughout the semester that they're taking math in this case, but they do not. Again, we're not doing early start this year, so that's a little bit. So there's less of a distinction between these two. So, bottom line is, if you are in either of these categories, then you'll be taking support throughout the semester and throughout the year next year, along with your general education math or English classes, whichever the case might be. And so again, that was a mouthful. Let me know, can folks give me maybe just a quick yes or no in order to let me know if that makes sense to everybody before I move on? Perfect, okay. And again, you would be very much forgiven if it doesn't make sense, because, and you want me to explain something again, because I know this took me even a while as even a staff member to learn. So you can work through these checklists if you're kind of curious, again, how we came to the decision about what your specific enrollment category is when you look at it online. That is, you can refer back to the checklist. It is also true that until we get transcripts from folks, there are what we call a lot of conditional enrollment categories, meaning that we have one enrollment category based on your transcript as it exists right now, but you're obviously actively, you were until the very end of your school year actively doing things that would have maybe impacted your enrollment category. You know, for example, maybe you were in one of those approved math courses, or maybe you took an AP exam that you're ultimately going to get a 3 on. And so those things can actually change your enrollment category as well. So if you see your enrollment category and you know those details, bear with us as far as that goes, and be in dialogue with us about that, so that we can adjust your enrollment category as needed. If you do not, so another way to look at this all, by the way, is you can use our this placement estimator. That's kind of fun. And again, I'll send Amanda a copy of these slides and with the links, and so that you all, and hopefully she'll share them with you so that you all have access as well. But again, these links are all available on our early assessment program website as well, which is listed here too. But the placement estimator is just kind of another way of looking at all of this information. So you can actually plug in all of your details here, and it will also generate an enrollment category for you. But again, I would actually, for you at this point as admitted students, I would probably go with, I would go with looking at your MySJSU account first, and then look at these. So again, how would you get access to the checklist? Again, if you go to this website, and again, I'll send Amanda a copy of these slides so that you all can have and hopefully she can share them so that you all can have the links. You can also go directly to sjsu.edu/EAP/. And if you go to our About EAP section, and you scroll down, some of the details that I've been sharing with you about the program, I have a couple of fun videos, but at about halfway, let's see, I always forget exactly where it is. About how, under the multiple measures section here on this page, here are all of the checklists. So you'll notice that all 3 of those checklists that we're working with were listed here, and a little bit of other resources too. Perfect. Okay, so this all connects with your enrollment category. So we look at all of that information, and again, as I walked you through on the checklist, we put students into one of 4 categories. So I already kind of talked about what those are, but again, if you're in category 1, so I've got a couple of things happening on my screen here. So if you find yourself in category 1, we call that fulfilled, just meaning that you've already completed that college level requirement. Category 2 means you're ready for those experiences, and those math and English experiences, and you do not need the support. If you're in category 3, that's no worries. You're still going to be ready for those math or English classes. You're still going to move forward with them to make that progress towards graduation, but you're just going to end up taking those support classes along with it to help you. And I'll talk about what those support classes look like specifically here in a minute. And again, if you're in category 4 in ordinary years, you would be required to do both the support classes and the early start program. But again, early start is not happening in this summer for obvious reasons. So I've been talking thinking about support course and look like a couple of might take is something that would actually break what is typically called a stretch option. And basically what that would do is break a 1 semester course up into over the course of 2 semesters. So it would turn again what is usually a 1 semester course into a year-long course so that you just have more time with the content. And so it offers time for that, for built-in review of things that maybe that you want to review before moving on to the topics of the class. So that's a great way, and you'll have a choice about whether you want to pursue that option or not if you do need to take support. Co-requisite courses, this is another, actually probably the most common option. And basically what this means is you're still taking the course in 1 semester, but you're also taking maybe a 1 unit, meaning 1 or 2 hours a week course that's going to help you with that class. So again, you're taking your math course, but then you're also taking a 1 or 2 unit just tutorial course to help you. And these are great because they provide just-in-time review of math topics necessary to pass the course. So, the instructor of the co-requisite course, the course that you take along with your math or English course, and the actual math course are going to be exchanging notes, and so they know what the professor is going to cover the next week, and so that's really helpful. There are also courses with peer educators, students who've been really successful in the course before who can help you out as well. So I'll pause for just a second to let folks ask any questions that they have, and again, feel free to ask me any questions at any time. Perfect. Now, again, I talked about how until we get transcripts, for many of you anyway, until we get transcripts, your categories are conditional. And so I do encourage you, if you do not know what your enrollment category is, it is fairly critical, especially before orientation, to log on to your student portal, to follow the directions on the PDF that we'll send to you a little bit later today, and make sure that you know exactly what your enrollment category is. And if you can't find that, contact me. I'll leave my email before we end the presentation. Contact me if you're unsure about what your enrollment category is, or Amanda or any of her team, because it is critical that you know what that number is, whether you're a 1, 2, 3, or 4, when you sit down at orientation. That is going to be a critical piece of making sure that you're in the right classes. And during orientation, it's such a busy time. It's a great time, but it's such a busy time that you won't necessarily have time to probably do that research, and it's going to make that experience much smoother if you just know what that enrollment category is. That's all to say that if you look at your enrollment category and you feel like maybe it should be higher, we do have an appeals process. Keep in mind that the appeals process is intended to give students an opportunity to present things that we might have overlooked. So like test scores, new transcript information, or other things that just happened that are not reflected in the record that would change that. So we're looking for new information at that point. But again, if you do feel like you're in that situation, let us know by following the steps on this website. And again, you'll have access to these slides that'll have all these links, or you can email, follow these instructions. And certainly if you have any questions, email our supported instruction email, and we will talk you through that process. So keep in mind, I talked about
Sorry, hold on, Jessica.
Of course, yeah.
There is a question in the chat right now, which I think we should probably answer before moving on.
Oh, great.
Yeah, the question says, my enrollment category is M3. However, if I took and passed AP stats in my senior year, should I just wait for my transcripts to be sent? If you're talking about your grade in the class, that's different from if you're talking about your AP score. If you're talking about your AP score, that can definitely change your category. If you're talking about your grade, that might or might not change your category depending upon other aspects of your multiple measures package. So if you received it, for example, a 3 on the EAP CASP exam, and then you passed your stats course with a C- or better, then that could change you into the M2 category. If you pass the AP exam with a 3 or better, that would move you to the M1 category. So it is possible for your enrollment category to be in flux at this point, and you're going to receive a survey in the next few days that will give you the opportunity to report senior year, to self-report senior year coursework to us, and AP and transfer credit that we may not have taken into account yet, just to let us know that it's coming. So I encourage you all to look out for that message and to respond to the survey as quickly as possible.
And then it looks like there's another question too. The AP score hasn't come. Do I still check off the first category? Again, keep in mind that until we get those official records from College Board that you passed that AP exam, we won't officially be able to change your category. However, I would say that if you're very, if you're very certain that you passed the course, you can proceed as though you are going to be a 1. Tom, what would you say about that in that situation?
During orientation, your advisor will place you according to the enrollment category that you're currently in. If your enrollment category changes after orientation, then you can work with academic advising to have your senior year, your first year courses changed.
Perfect. Perfect. So I want to talk a little bit about how, before I get into this, our discussion just reminded me, I spent way too little time talking about the CASP exam. So many of you, so again, the CASP, the SBAC, or the SBAC exam, different names for the same exam. That exam was the standardized test that you sat for at school. That was like the state testing for your school. What I didn't make a big deal about on the checklist that I should have is the fact that the CASP is basically the CASP is graded on a 1 to 4 basis. And if you got a 3 on the CASP exam, that means that you were working at grade level. And if you got a 4, that meant that you were working above grade level or at the college level at that point. So you sat for that exam as second semester juniors, if you remember that experience. And so if you got a 4 on the CASP exam, essentially what that's saying is that you were working at the college level as a junior in high school. So a score of 4 on the CASP or the SBAC will automatically show us readiness in math or English, whichever subject it was. But if you got a 3 on the CASP exam, you were working at grade level, which is great. But in that case, we wanted to see an extra year of preparation. So that's where Tom was saying you can combine the fact that you got a 3 with approved senior year courses, just like you can combine the GPAs, or just as you can combine the test scores with that approved senior year math or English course in order to show us readiness. How do I know what our scores are? That is something that your high school counselor would have had access to. I don't know whether those results would have been sent home. I don't know if the CASP exam specifically is in your student portal, but it's important to know that is also potentially a component of your enrollment category when you look at it. So if you want to unpack that, we can talk to you a little bit about that as well. Okay, so now, so I want to spend a minute talking about why English and math placement is so important. And how it connects to everything else that you're doing. What I have on the screen right now are all of the general education requirements that you will need to complete in order to graduate. And remember that your general education requirements are just a component of everything you need to do to graduate. So there's general education courses that you'll complete. There are major preparation courses, prerequisite courses that you'll complete, or major preparation courses. And then there are your major courses as you get into your 3rd or 4th year. Most students in their 1st and 2nd years will spend time completing all of the general education requirements, so they get those out of the way, but also major preparation courses. So but these are all of the, this is only kind of a component of what you'll be completing for graduation, but these are the general education requirements that are required of everybody. And these are required of everybody regardless of what major you are. So everybody from an art major to, to a math major is going to be taking these same requirement areas. Keep it, you'll notice that I have 4 of the requirements in gold. And that is because those are the 4, those are known as the golden 4. And we just call it that because in advising, we call it that because we believe those are the 4 kind of core foundational skills you need to have you need to complete over the course of your 1st year in order to be really successful in everything else. So when I talk about English and math placement, what I'm talking about is first and foremost this A2 written composition requirement. So A2 written composition, that is the requirement that if you have that AP or IB English credit, or if you have a college level English course, that will be that writing area that we spend so much time talking about. And of course, B4 mathematical concepts, that is the that is the quantitative skills course that you might have completed through you know, AP or IB math or community college math. There's also, you'll notice there's A1 oral communication that's like a public speaking course. And so again, we like to see students get that out of the way during the first year. And then critical thinking is more or less kind of a continuation of a second semester continuation of the writing course. A little bit different, and you'll be able to get into other subjects in this. But essentially it is, it's a continuation of a course that again, has you focus on that writing component. So essentially we're dealing with 2 different writing courses throughout the course of your first year, writing-based courses throughout your first year, a math course, and then an A1 oral communication course. By the way, at orientation, in regards to these general education requirements, advisors will show you how to do this a little bit more, but basically you'll be able to search for classes by these requirement areas. So you'll see that like if you go to search for A1, there will be like 20 or 30 different courses that pop up that are going to fulfill that same requirement. So while on paper these might feel like, oh, I'm required to take math and English again, like how are these different from A through G or my high school graduation requirements, they're going to be different in the sense that usually there's about 20 or 30 different options to fulfill these different general education requirements. So you'll have a lot of different choices. So, and again, just some notes that you can, at this point, one thing to keep in mind, is that we want to see you complete all 4 of those courses during your first year of college. We just have found that really makes students as successful as they can be. But keep in mind that especially with A2 and B4, that writing course and that math course, we want students to see them fulfill that in their first year of enrollment. So all students must enroll in A2 or B4 courses in their first year of enrollment and remain continuously enrolled in A2 or B4 until those GE requirements are met. So not only are you not delayed in taking those courses, but we want you to keep taking those courses until you're successful, because those requirements, again, are just really foundational to everything else. Students in the 4 categories must enroll in the fall, but I would recommend that, but I would strongly just encourage everybody to enroll in their first semester if they don't already have those done. Because the reality is that students who do not satisfy their A2 or B4 requirements in their first year, including the summer, will be placed on administrative academic probation at the start of their second year. And then ultimately, if you don't complete A2 or B4 by the end of your second year, there is the potential to be withdrawn from the university. So again, that's because these requirements are just, these skills are foundational to everything else that you're going to be doing. So I want to make sure that we have time to go through the other components. So I will skip over this for now. But this is actually, if you look at these links, this is actually a way to determine what your AB and IB community college or community college credit will do for you. And so at this point, I will turn it over to Tom to talk about the different math pathways that we have.
Okay, at this point, what I'm going to do is switch over to screen share. I'm on exactly the same slide, so you're going to see a little fussing around, and then we're going to rejoin in exactly that same slide.
Perfect.
Hopefully that same slide. Actually, you're going to see my email first, and then I'm going to switch over to that slide. Okay, there's my email. There's the slide. All right. So once again, hello. My name is Tom Reese. I'm the manager of academic preparation programs. I work with Jessica at San Jose State. And I'm going to finish off this presentation talking about math and English enrollment categories and course options. But before I launch into that, I'd like to ask Amanda, can you remind me of how much time we have left? Because I want to gauge the appropriate pace by how much time we've got.
About 2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes for everything. Wow. Okay. Well, so let me just hit the highlights. And I'm going to do a lot of zooming through here then. So I'm just going to hit the most important points. The first point is that the major that you're entering into will determine the kind of math you take. So we categorize all majors in 3 general areas: calculus majors, statistics majors, and majors that don't require any math in particular. All you have to do is fulfill your general education requirement in quantitative reasoning. So an example of a calculus-based major would be a STEM field like mathematics itself, or an engineering major, or a science major. A statistics major would be something in the social sciences, generally the social sciences. So if you are going into, say, psychology, justice studies, then you would take a major that requires you to have a particular field that you'll be working in. But we do want you to have a breadth course in math or quantitative reasoning. And so we have interesting options for you to take what is quite possibly going to be the last math course of your life. And those courses are just general interest in math courses, like what's the math that underlies voting systems, or how does symbolic logic work, those kinds of courses. In order to know what sort of math you're taking, what you can do is go to your major's 4-year roadmap. This is a schedule of classes that you could take in order to complete your degree in 4 years. And you'll be able to see what your required B4 course is, or if you have no particular required B4 course, you just have to take any course. The roadmap link is down at the bottom of this slide, and I assume that it will be handed off by Amanda later, so you can access this link at some future date. Okay, the pre-calculus proficiency assessment is a test that those of you who are going into STEM fields may have to take if you don't have an AP score on file that exempts you from it. So you should have a message from the testing office and another message from supported instruction letting you know whether you have to take the pre-calculus proficiency examination. We also call it Alex PPL because that is the company that provides us with the exam. And so if you're not sure whether or not you need to take this test, check your messages, and if you do need to take the PPA, contact the testing office at the link that you see toward the bottom of this slide. Okay, this is where we're going to just start clicking through pretty quickly here. This there are different math pathways that you would take depending upon the kind of STEM field that you're entering into. I'm going to skip all that. I'm going to skip through the lower division STEM courses here, except I'm going to point out something on this slide here. You'll notice that certain courses have parenthetical 4-digit in the letter second courses attached. So for example, at the very top, Math 1 and 101S. Next one down, Math 18A and 18W and 1018A. It's actually AS, I forgot the S there. These parenthetical courses are not full courses. They are workshops that are intended to support the parent course. So Math 19, there's 19W and 1019S. These courses are 1-unit courses that students primarily in category 3 and 4 will take in order to ensure that the students are successful in the parent course Math 19. So if you're in category 1 or category 2 and you're enrolled in, say, Math 19, you can take Math 19 without any support, though you can opt into support if you feel that you need it. But if you're in category 3 or 4, then you have to take these 1-unit workshops simultaneously so that you're reviewing prerequisite material, have additional opportunity to practice the material in the course. This, and what I'm about to say is really important. The reason I'm dwelling on this slide with my remaining 15 seconds or whatever I have is that I want to make sure that, that you understand this point. These extra workshops are not punishment. They are not punishment. They are intended to ensure that you are moving along getting your degree. Not passing a course is far, far greater a barrier to getting your degree than taking an extra 1-unit workshop that is intended to help you pass the course. So if you are in category 3 or 4 and you're mandated to enroll in an extra help workshop, embrace it as an opportunity, not think of it as a punishment. And if you're in category 2, but you're a little bit shaky on math, you've had kind of mixed success in math, sign up for those workshops, opt in. They are opportunities for you to ensure that you are following a successful path toward your degree. Okay, if you're in a calculus-based major, then you'll, when you get to calculus, there are 5 different courses that have both X versions and non-X versions. All I will say is that the X versions are versions with support. So if you are, if your academic credentials going into that course are really, really strong, you'll have the opportunity to take the non-X version. If your credentials suggest that you may need extra help, you'll go into the X version. And I won't say anything more about that right now. Your advisor at orientation will walk you through that. If you're going into a statistics-based major, we have 6 different intro to statistics options at San Jose State. 2 of them, the 2 at the bottom, have support options attached to them. The top 4 do not. So the stats course that you take, if you're going to a stats-based field, will depend upon, in part, your enrollment category and in part your major. Let's see. These are the courses that you would take if you don't have any particular requirement in math. I was going to talk about what all these are, but I'm not going to do that because we don't have time. I'm just going to reinforce the idea that you have a lot of options when it comes to, if you're in a GE field that does not require any particular math, you have a lot of options in terms of what your last class is before you don't do any math for the rest of your life. Philosophy and linguistics, which are not math in the math department, obviously, they even offer courses that satisfy the B4 requirement. So if you want your last math course to not actually have any math in it, these are really good options for you to take because they go over structured mathematical thinking without having any computational element to them. And then the last 2 slides have to do with English. What about your first writing class? Your first writing class will be determined not by your enrollment category. We have a different way of doing that at San Jose State, as do about half of the CSUs. We use a process called directed self-placement. Our directed self-placement exercise at San Jose State is called the Reflection on College Writing. Again, it is not a placement test. It is an exercise that you're intended to finish before your orientation session, about a week before your orientation session. And what it does is gives you the opportunity to experience college level reading and writing assignments and then reflect upon how they felt, which is why it's called the Reflection on College Writing. If you feel that the experience of the reflection was really comfortable and it's the next logical step beyond what you're currently doing in your expository reading and writing or AP classes, then you will sign up for English 1A, which is the 1 semester version of the first year writing course. If the reading and writing in that exercise felt challenging, then you will sign up for the stretch version of English 1A, which is English 1AF, F for fall, and 1AS, S for spring. It is the same class as English 1A. It just moves at a slower pace and is spread out over 2 semesters. You get college credit in both semesters. So even though it takes longer to complete that GE requirement, the A2 requirement in written communication, you're still earning your way toward a degree in both semesters. So go ahead and take stretch if you feel that the Reflection on College Writing has told you that you might want to take a slower approach to completing your written communication requirement. So just a reminder, if you do take the stretch version of the class, you have to take both semesters consecutively. So you'll take 1AF in the fall and 1AS in the spring. You can't take 1AF in the fall and then save the spring component for some other year. And that's that. I'll let Jessica do this last slide here with websites and contact information, and then we're done.
Perfect. Well, thank you, everybody. And I'll just quickly say goodbye. And if you have any, these are all different links to the Early Assessment Program website I showed you before. If you have more questions about the any of the supported instruction math classes that Tom talked about, you can either email me or you can go to our supported instruction website for more information. But at this point, I'll say just goodbye and thank you, and best of luck as you navigate your first semester.
So thank you, Tom and Jessica, for presenting. So we are not done with our course just yet. We have a few more minutes. If you do have questions for them, please go ahead and utilize the chat. We do want to be able to cover just couple more things in our remaining time here. So looking at creating your steps. So just some quick reminders in creating what your steps are going to be for preparing for this fall. We're looking at, continuing to practice the e-advising tools. So the assignment that'll be posted this afternoon, we'll be focusing on revisiting those e-advising tools, revisiting the information that was presented in today's session. So the slides definitely will be shared for your review to be able to look back at those, checking in with an advisor. So if you have questions on any of these processes that have been presented, such as which courses you're going to take, talk with your college success centers. If you have questions on the information presented today, reach out to supported instruction, reach out to Tom and Jessica. If you have questions on that reflection of college writing, reach out to our directed self-placement office. And then if you have questions on that pre-calculus proficiency assessment, as Derek mentioned a couple days ago, reach out to our testing office and get those questions answered. We are here for you. We are here to support your journey through this process here. Make sure you attend your Sparta Camp orientation session. So as a reminder, the link to access your session will be posted at least a week prior in your My SJSU account, in your messages there. You need to attend orientation. That is mandatory. If you do not attend orientation, you will not be with us in the fall. If you're having any difficulties with accessing that link, please do email our orientation office at frosh-orientation@sjsu.edu. And lastly, do make sure that you take that time to reflect, that moment to review your goals, review your motivations, and make a list of those organizations and resources you'd like to engage with. A lot of you mentioned getting involved on campus, about connecting with other students, about learning more learning how to connect with more opportunities. So definitely make sure that you take that time to revisit the information presented throughout the past 2 weeks, see what opportunities are available, see those connections you can even expand on there, and make that list for yourself, that growth plan for yourself, and ask questions. Now, in regards to that growth plan, we are planning to re-engage, before the fall, so and help you plan for that fall. So in July, we will have a virtual check-in event named to be announced fairly soon. But this event, it's going to focus on, now that most of you would have had your schedule completed, or at least have had a chance to start to plan out what your schedule is or see what your block classes are. Let's talk about your next step. So creating, and organizing your space, both digitally and physically, breaking down the syllabus to calendar your semester and really plan out your assignments, your progress, and talk about gathering supplies and your resources, how to buy books, where to find resources to either rent or purchase books, managing your finances, and of course, celebrating your accomplishments for the new semester. I think that is key, that is huge. And, every step of that process that you are, taking that lead on, taking that responsibility for, and, really pushing through. Now, during this time, before we do close today, I would like if you can all go to our program evaluation. It is both available on the Google Classroom, but if you can start to work on it now, that would be great. It would be ideal. It is available at bit.ly/SP, it has to be capital, 20 eval. This is our overall program evaluation. So as you've seen in our Google Classroom so far, and as we've promoted throughout the program, the more you complete, the better your chances are of, winning in our raffle. For those of you that have been with all of us, there will be a little something for you as well. It's just a thank you and hopefully a little bit of motivation to keep pushing through. Again, this link here, and I'll go ahead and drop it in the chat as well, so you can directly click on it. But this is our overall program evaluation. I also want to encourage you, if you have not already done so, some of you have been emailed information on scholarships that you are directly eligible for. So definitely check that out. Actually, I want to open it up to Lori to talk a little bit about another scholarship opportunity that may be available for you.
So students, just as a let you know, the Eastside Educational Foundation has a specific scholarship for students who have been part of our summer program who were also part of the Elevate program. So if you were part of the Elevate program in 8th grade or going into 9th grade, I believe, and are also part of our summer program, please make sure that you check your email. You're eligible for a scholarship, and we will be sending you information about that scholarship. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys are really checking your emails, because any information we have or any scholarships that are coming up, we'll be sending to your email.
Definitely. So again, for those of you who are eligible for that, you have you'll be emailed. For those that were eligible for our San Jose Earthquake Scholarship, you have been emailed as well. If you have not received an email and are definitely interested in scholarships, I highly recommend going to our financial aids website, sjsu.edu/FASO, and filling out the general application that is listed there. The reason for this is that general application, once you fill that out, as scholarships become available that you would be eligible for, you can get a notification about that to sign up and apply for that. That way, if additional information is asked, such as an essay or a video or whatever that might be, you know that you're eligible for it and have that opportunity to be able to apply for those scholarships. So again, that website is sjsu.edu/FASO, and you'll click on scholarships there. But for those two scholarships that were mentioned, the Elevate Scholarship and then the San Jose Earthquakes, for those that are eligible, you have been emailed, so definitely check those out. All right, hopefully everyone is working on the evaluation at this time. Do you want to just quickly again plug again the Spartan Eastside Promise Transition Program that Eric mentioned earlier. So he and myself run this program alongside with our peer mentors to be able to provide you support services, workshops, virtual check-in events, and much more, and many other resources to help you with navigating the university, your first year of college, and throughout. So we're still there. So both his email and my email are here. You can also make Zoom appointments with us. My link is here, his link is here, to be able to check in with us, check in with our mentors. We do have our website that is now up. It's sjsu.edu/soar/Spartan Eastside Promise. So you can check that out for more information on the services we offer. Follow us on Instagram. We post a lot of great content there that you can connect with our campus departments, be able to join us for our Instagram Live, or like Eric mentioned, our Canopy watch party. So very similar to like Netflix, but Canopy is a free streaming service available through your SJSU account. So get to be able to see several documentaries, several educational films, also some Hollywood films as well there. I saw a couple, I was like, oh, I've been meaning to watch this. So another great thing that is available for you as San Jose State students. So once again, if you do have questions, please reach out to us. Please schedule an appointment with us via Zoom. We'd love to be able to continue to help you through this process, continue to connect with you during our July check-in event to help you really work on those tangible items now of organizing yourself, organizing your space, and getting your resources together, your physical resources together to prepare for the fall semester. I'm going to leave this link up here for a little bit longer, but if there, for those that may have already finished the evaluation, or if you are still working on it, but you have some questions for either myself or, our Eastside counselors that have been part of this program this entire time and working with you in the breakout rooms. If you have questions for Tom and Jessica, please go ahead and put those in the chat at this time. We will still be on for a few more moments here. I think we had a hand raised from Frankie. If you want to turn on your mic and ask your question.
Yeah, so I had a question regarding like, I guess, financials or like the bursar's office, but basically I was on my SJSU account and I noticed that there was like a fee, and I looked at the details and it was about fall 2020 semester and it included like my tuition and all that. So I just wanted to ask, is this like fee like set in stone, or is this going to vary based off of like my orientation and what courses I apply for and all of that?
Yeah, of course. So to clarify, is this the fee on your financial aid award estimate, or is this the estimate fee, or is this the fee on your MySJSU where it says amount due, like on the homepage?
Like right in the homepage, like the student center, it says account summary, and then it says you owe, and then the set amount.
Gotcha. Okay. So what that amount is, it's referring to, when you're enrolled in courses. Now, our amount is based off of how many units you're taking. So if you are a full-time student or a part-time student. So if you are taking, 11 units or less, so let's say, like 3 classes in a PE class or something like that, or less, that's like a part-time student, you are charged one set amount. If you are taking 12 units or more, so 12 units, 15 units, so think 4 or 5 or even 6 classes, 6 is not recommended, but if you are taking anywhere but from 12 or higher, it's another set amount. So whether it's 12, 13, 14, 15, it's the same amount. Now, that being said, what happens next is that amount is listed on your account after you have enrolled in courses. So if you have not, do forgive me, I missed if you've had orientation or you haven't had orientation yet, but you should have been into block schedule already for a couple courses, and that's why that amount is starting to show there. Now, that being said though, what will happen is your financial aid, so whatever you are receiving in financial aid will go towards that amount first. So if your account on the right-hand side under indicators has something that says fee deferral, this means that your financial aid, once it is processed, will kick in and cover that, depending on what amount it is, will go towards that tuition amount first. So that being said, you would want to see about how much financial aid you are getting. And if it fully covers, that amount that's listed there, great. There's nothing, everything will happen automatically for you there. If it doesn't fully cover the amount, then what you're going to need to do, you have two different options. One, if you're eligible for loans, you can work with our financial aid office to be able to, figure out how much you would be taking out and get that applied towards your tuition. The other option you have, if you, if you're going to just pay for the amount there, is to work with our bursar's office to develop a payment plan. Now, depending how early you reach out to our bursar's office, there can be anywhere between just one payment a semester or up to 4 payments broken up over the course of the semester.
All right. So the fee deferral, that, so the fee that I received, it has a due date of July, and I wasn't sure if my financial aid would come in and, pay that off by that time, or if I would have to, pay out of pocket, because, from FAFSA and financial aid, it does cover the amount that I owe, but I just wasn't sure if that would come in time or not, or do I need to worry about it?
That's a great question too. So the financial aid doesn't get dispersed until the semester starts. Now, that being said, if your account has that fee deferral on the side, you do not have to worry about that July deadline, because what will happen is that deferral is basically putting that date on hold for you. It's putting your classes on hold for you. That way, they're still there, and once your financial aid is available, it will cover that amount.
Okay. All right.
Let's see. Yeah, definitely. I will say it is. I remember my first time seeing that, I was like, I don't know what to do. So I definitely, if you have more questions on that, reach out to our financial aid office directly, and they can check and see. So for other students that might be having similar concern, they can kind of walk you through that process and see, especially if you do have an amount to pay, like if your financial aid doesn't fully cover your tuition for those in similar situation. Definitely reach out to our financial aid office to be able to sit down with you, look at your account. Some of you were in our session with financial aid last week and heard directly from Carolyn. She said she was more than happy to be able to assist you with that process over Zoom. So definitely reach out if you have those questions so they can go directly into your account with you. Yes, it is the tuition fee deferral. So so that's what will essentially put your classes on hold until your financial aid processes. Okay, so if you see classes that are automatically put onto your schedule, this is referring to the block scheduling. So our College Success Centers and Academic Advising or Retention Services are working together to put you into anywhere between 1 to 3 classes already, based off of your major, based off of the college. This is in an effort to, one, help you to be connected with very similar students. So some students are being placed in the same classes together to build community. It's also in an effort to make sure that you get some of those classes that historically students have said, oh, I wasn't able to get into that class that I need. So that way you are getting those classes early on, right at your first semester, and can be able to move on to that next course there. All right, I have a question here about the PPA and the RCW. So they're not necessarily on your to-do list. They're going to be sent to you in a MySJSU message. So if you do have to complete the PPA, yes, there will be something on the to-do list called an ALEKS, ALEKS, PPL, that practice exam. But for the RCW, the Reflection on College Writing, that's sent in a MySJSU message to link you to something called Canvas, which is available on one.sjsu.edu. So yeah, again, so if you don't have that message on that PPL, just like Jessica said, if you don't have it because your major doesn't require calculus, then you will not need to take that exam. It's only if your major does require calculus. So we do have a chart about that in our Google Classroom, so you could be able to see which majors do and which majors don't require calculus. So definitely check that out. But as a reminder, for the as our testing office mentioned last week, the PPA, or the other day, the PPA, if it's required for your major, you need to complete it at least 3 days prior to your orientation. And for the Reflection on College Writing, that has to be done at least a week prior to your orientation so it can process timely. Okay, so if you have questions such as like if you were block scheduled into a class that is asynchronous and you know you're concerned about what that will look like, concerned about you know the structure, I would say for the most part block scheduled classes cannot be changed. However, I would say if it is a great concern to reach out to your academic advisor and bring this up with them, talk it through with them to be able to see if either if they can move you or refer you to some other resources that can help you stay on track with that class, tips and strategies for that. I will say, just kind of bringing up again our Spartan ESUHSD Promise program, this is definitely, if that is a concern, that's definitely a great way to connect with us in regards to something that a program that we have called the Growth Pledge. Now, what the Growth Pledge does is if there's very specific areas that you want to focus on, that you want to make sure that you are on top of, that you're working towards, you would take that pledge with us and sit down with a peer mentor, check in regularly as we help you work through that process. So what I mean is we're not going to be sitting down taking the class with you, but help you in terms of connecting you to resources, kind of checking in on you, seeing how you're doing with that, helping you with calendaring, with scheduling, to reminders and things of that nature, and providing other tips and strategies and skill building opportunities to help you be able to adjust in that process. So I would say that's definitely another way to connect with us, to kind of have someone be there with you in that process, to check in with you and assist with that, assist with being able to stay on top of those items. So for block scheduling, it will really depend. So our College Success Centers did mention it can be anywhere between 1 to 3 classes that you are block scheduled in, depending on the major and depending on how hard that class tends to be able to add later on. So that will vary depending on, you know, several factors, but you will see this in your MySJSU account. Other questions? Okay. Gotcha. So if you're still having trouble accessing some of the recordings, I'll go back in today and double check. I believe all of the settings were changed to be able to be public, but I'll check this afternoon. They should be, if they're not already available, then by 1 p.m. they will be available for you there. Great question. So are you able to change or replace a class that that was automatically put on your schedule? Typically, no, unless you have a very, very compelling reason. So for example, let's say you're working during that time, or you know, you are planning to change your major or something, or there's some other conflict with that class, or something else that would prevent you from either participating in that class or doing well in that class. This is something that you will want to talk with your academic advisor about, as they would be the ones to be able to move you. And they're ultimately the ones that are going to be approving your schedule. Alrighty, any other questions? Either in the chat or on your mic as we wrap up here. Yeah, so this question I think is more for Jessica and Tom about the Spartan Impact Mentorship Program.
Yeah, we're really excited about that program, and we've actually worked really hard with Amanda and her team to complement the things that that her program and her mentors are going to be doing. So it is a separate program, but if you're signed up for both and we'll be participating in both, know that we're going to, or know that we're not going to be doing the same things. So in fact, what I'll do is I'll put the survey link very quickly if you're wanting to sign up for that. But yeah, it'll be a great program. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to have mentors meet with everybody 3 times during the summer and 3 times during, at least 3 times during the summer and 3 times during the fall in order to, you know, in order to just kind of check in with you. They'll also be doing one-on-one check-ins if that's something that you find helpful. You'll also be paired, your mentor, you'll be paired in the same group with maybe 12, we're thinking about 12 to 15 other students. And so you'll get the chance to meet other first-year students as well through the process. So basically they'll have our mentors will have 3 group meetings with their smaller groups in the fall and 3 in the spring, 3 in the summer and 3 in the fall. In order to just kind of go over topics again and to maybe re-go over things that Amanda's program is going to go over as well.
Great, thank you, Jessica. So we have another question here that maybe you both might be able to answer a little bit better than me, but what happens if my major requires calculus, but I didn't pass the PPA?
Yeah, so Tom can give his perspective too, but but what you probably want to do at that point is look back at the prerequisite courses that are required and start with the prerequisite courses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just confirm that that's the way to go. If you are required to take calculus, but you're not ready to take it in your first semester, you'll be placed either 1 or 2 semesters behind calculus, and your academic advisor at orientation will work with you to get you into the right class. And then you'll just take coursework up through calculus so that you don't have to take the PPA again. Alternatively, if you're, for example, placed 2 semesters behind calculus, and if after your first course you want to try taking the PPA again to skip the second course, then you can do that. But if you don't place directly into calculus, then moving through prerequisite coursework is the way most students get into calculus.
And in that case, it might be helpful just from a perspective of getting you truly ready for those classes too. The other thing is that may be a larger conversation that you want to have with your advisor as far as how that's going to impact your roadmap long term. The short answer could be that it won't, and that you can plan around that even if you need to take a couple of prerequisite courses. So if you do make that choice, don't feel like that's going to disadvantage you, but make sure that from day one that you're talking with your advisor about that so that they can help you kind of plan for that in your roadmap.
I want to say one more thing about this very briefly, because there's a difference in STEM majors. We categorize a very, very large number of majors as calculus-based majors, but there's a very big difference between the one calculus course that's required of business administration majors and the multiple calculus courses that are required of most engineers and follow-on math courses beyond that. If you're in an engineering major or other very intensive math major, they really place a premium upon your being in calculus from your first semester. And if you're not ready for calculus in your first semester, you may find it beneficial to take some math courses at community colleges or through Open University in the summer session to get back on track in math. If you're in a business administration degree, it's not as critical because your math requirements are not nearly as burdensome, even though they are calculus based.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that input, that insight, and that advice for our students. So I know we are quite a bit over time already, so I do want to make sure that if there are any other questions, you do reach out to us. If you haven't already filled out the evaluation, we see about half of you have done it so far. Please go ahead and fill that out. You have until Sunday night to complete that, as Monday we will be announcing our winners for the raffle. So you have until Sunday night to complete this. So if you haven't already done so, please go ahead, complete that today, tomorrow, before 11:59 on the 14th. That way, Monday, when we announce our winners, maybe it'll be you. So once again, I want to say thank you so much for being part of this program. Thank you so much for engaging with us in this process, for just joining us this summer to start building those connections for yourself, building your resources, your skills, and just building that community for yourself. And I want to say, we are going to continue to be here for you through this event, through our check-ins. So please do reach out to us if you have any questions, any concerns, or you just have questions about the university in general, like where maybe you have a class that is on campus this semester and you're wondering, where's the best place to get such and such food, or you have a concern about something. We are here to help you through this process. So please do reach out, engage with us this summer, engage with us this fall, and take care, everyone. See ya.
Thank you guys so much for being part of our program.
Yeah, definitely. If any of our counselors want to share, we greatly appreciate you being here. We greatly appreciate you joining us. And the Google Classroom will still be open as well. So you can check that out throughout the summer to revisit different items.